You are watching 32 teams in 32 days on the Game Time Sports Network. It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, the haters, the addicts, and the fanatics? This is Larry Patterson for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports right here on the GTSN. It's the Game Time Sports Network. Got my man Amon up here, man. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. We moving through this AFC South, man. This probably be one of my most favorite teams right here because it's an up and coming team. So this one will be a good one for sure.
And I got a special guest with me, part of the Mike. He's founder of the Mike Patton Network. Also, you host the around the AFC South. How you doing today, Mr. Mike Patton?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Ready to talk some Tennessee Titan football. I saw you were at the camp yesterday. How did you like things at the camp? How does things look out there?
Well, I will say this: the team looks noticeably bigger. That's what I noticed compared to last year to this year. So that's one thing I noticed. I mean, a lot more, explosive looking in terms of the connection between Calvin Ridley and Cameron Ward. Also, just the young guys that they brought in. I mean, Alec Elmander, Strepo. You got DK, receiver out of Florida, and you also got Gunnar Helm as well. So you got a lot of different young guys that they're very confident in, and of course I can't forget Winston from Penn State. That's a guy that a lot of people forgot about, but he's actually 100% healthy, which I think that surprised a lot of Titans fans that were thinking maybe this would be like more of a redshirt year, but nah, he's actually ready to go already.
Let's run it back to your season last year. You ended the season 3-14,
Hmm.
1-5 in the division in the AFC South. You started off 1-3, hit the bye week, then you finished 2-11 the next 13 games, including losing 6 in a row to close out the season, missing the playoffs for the third straight season. Um, Actually, you finished fourth place in the last two seasons, 9-25 record in that stretch, and then Brian Callahan in his first season, 3-14. As a fan, are you as a fan of the Titans? Uh, I know last season didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or imagine, especially with Will Levis at the helm. But how did last season go for you?
I will say that, yeah, definitely more of a fan of, I would say, the division than actually the particular team. But I will say that as far as the season, it was a lot of missed opportunities, I would say, for the Tennessee Titans. You've got, the Chicago game, the first game of the season, could have potentially drove down and won that game. Ups, Will Levis throws an inexplicable pass. The next thing you know, the Bears come back and win the game. Next week, you got some other mess that happens. Then you got another game where, they're driving down the score instead of just taking, the defense made a good play. Levis tries to scoop the ball over to Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard has no idea it's coming. So, just those little bitty mistakes that happen on offense and defense as well. Defense as well made some mistakes. So, late penalty, late hit and getting a penalty, keeping the drive alive, stuff like that. Those things are becoming of a team that's not ready to win or not putting themselves in position to win. And that's what, unfortunately, the Titans did a lot last season.
Tony Pollard was a key addition to the Titans last season. 260 carries, 1,079 yards. That's his third straight 1,000-yard season.
Hmm.
I want to say fourth straight 1,000-yard season from yards from scrimmage.
Hmm.
How big has Tony Pollard been on this as a key addition to this team?
He's definitely been a stabilizing factor when it comes to their offense. He's the one guy that you can be like, okay, cool, we can give him the ball. He can definitely make some things happen. Majority of the time, given that the line creates holes and things like that. Um, you know, he definitely is a guy that I thought when he was coming in, it was an underrated signing. A lot of people were kind of like, I don't know. He used to be a wide receiver. Sometimes now he's a running back. Don't know if he can kind of take that pounding in terms of like, taking all those multiple hits during the game and keep on going. But he did. And, unfortunately, he did get injured towards the end of the season, but he has definitely been a stabilizing force and probably will continue to be a stabilizing force this season for the Titans, given that the offensive line is improved, which they did pick up a couple players up there as well.
Calvin Ridley, another key addition to the team, went over 1,000 yards last season. You lose out on Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Mhm.
Chiga Conquo, 479 yards. Yeah, this the receiving unit, we'll touch on some of the other guys that you have a little later on the defensive side of the ball.
Mhm.
You had Harold Landry, he's gone now, went to the Patriots, 9 sacks
Mhm.
last season. Arden Key, 6.5. Jeffrey Simmons, 5 for the last 2 seasons, 5.5 and 5 sacks. Uh, and then with tackles, Kenneth Murray,
Mhm.
another one got his loss, 95 tackles on the season. Amani Hooker, 5 interceptions. Do you think Amani Hooker will get paid this season?
That's a great question. Actually, that's a great question. I actually just talked to him yesterday at Back Together weekend and interviewed him. I didn't really quite ask him about that, but if you notice about the Titans, there are a lot of guys that were going to last year deals that aren't here with the Tennessee Titans anymore. But Amani Hooker is that one guy that is. So it leads me to believe that maybe they have hope to keep him around a little bit longer, or Winston is a replacement for him. One or the other is what it would probably be. But yeah, definitely think there's hope that he will get signed and stay with Tennessee Titans because his veteran leadership is needed, especially in that secondary with a lot of young guys at the cornerback position. Minus Jerry Sneed, of course, and at the safety position, still trying to get other guys acclimated to the Tennessee Titans way and team.
Yeah, I was looking at he's been in the league since 2019. He's played 16 games, 12, 9, 13, and 14. And
Hmm.
I would think, a player like that, they would go ahead and extend him already. But maybe the injury factor, the games missed, maybe come down to that. Uh, but we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
Um, Going to key losses, key additions, and key losses for this team.
Hmm.
Of course, you pick up Cam Ward in the draft.
Hmm.
You also pick up Cody Barton, Brandon Allen for backup, Draymond Jones, Van Jefferson, guys, Tyler Lockett as well. You
Hmm.
lose out on Harold Landry, Jerome Baker, Chidobe Awuzie, Daniel Brunskill, Luke Gifford, Kenneth Murray as well, and Nick Westbrook-Akina. Uh, Going to your draft picks
Hmm.
with Cam Ward at 1, then Oluwafemi Oladejo. I hope I'm saying that name right from
You're saying it
UCLA.
correct. Just call him Big Femi. That's what they call him.
Big Femi,
Big
okay.
Femi. Yeah.
From UCLA in the third round, you pick up Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. In the three fourth round picks, 103, you pick. I keep forgetting his name because the way it's spelled. The first name is spelled, but I know his last name is DK, right?
Chimere DK.
Him, Chimere DK from Florida, and tight end Gunnar Helm, also in the fourth round from Texas, and then Alec Aomaner, wide receiver from Stanford, also in the fourth round. In the fifth round, offensive guard Jackson Slater from Sacramento State, and 2 6th-round picks, cornerback Marcus Harris from California and running back Khalil Mullins out of Michigan. Amon, you know him really well. You're a Michigan guy. Out of those draft picks, which draft pick stands out to you the most? I know you were going to talk about Cam, but other than Cam, what other one stands out to you?
I would say Big Feeney stands out to me the most. And, it's kind of a tie between him and kind of Alec Ailmanor. Alec Ailmanor has been a guy that has been studying and watching and listening to Calvin Ridley since he got here. Now, one thing about Calvin Ridley going into this year two here with the Tennessee Titans, he definitely is more comfortable. You can see it in the way he kind of his mannerisms, the way he's talking around players and his teammates and the younger wide receivers. He sees himself more as a leader, and the wide receiver room looks to him as their leader this year, which is a little different than it was last year. So Alec Eilmanor kind of follows him around, watches different things that he does, which Calvin really goes runs every route pretty much full tilt, makes it all look the same. So Alec Eilmanor is kind of doing a lot of those different things, mimicking him, and I just want to see his growth and how he breaks into that rotation in terms of maybe being a top three, that one of the top three wide receivers that he potentially starting for this team going into the season. And as far as Big Femi or Oluwafemi Oladejo with his full name, but he is a guy that is physically imposing. I actually saw him up close the first time yesterday. He is a big man, and he actually used to play middle linebacker. So he actually got moved out to outside when he went to UCLA. So that's when he became an edge rusher. So he's still growing into being an edge rusher. But Coach Brian Callahan in the press conference before the practice yesterday, he did talk about how he's not worried about Big Femi, and he said he's definitely a little bit ahead of where he thought he would be, which is a very good sign for the Tennessee Titans. So that's why I picked those two.
Yeah, I was looking at Big Femi. I was like, well, maybe that's the Harold Landry replacement right there. You're picking him up in the
Yeah,
second round. And
eventually he will be. Eventually, I think he will be. I don't think he is like right off the bat, bam, that guy. But I think eventually, as he gets more experience and learns a few things, he's going to be that guy. 'Cause he has a physical build for it, for sure.
Ma, you got a question?
Yeah, I got two questions. Well, yeah, so I'm gonna start with JC Latham, their first round pick
Hmm.
a couple drafts ago. I know Brian is there. I think Bill is still there, right? With his son, is the offensive line coach. Is
Yes,
still there.
yes, he's still here.
So we all know that offensive linemen, transition to the league is, can be a little challenging. So how
Hmm.
how has the development from year one with JC Latham to where he is now going to his second camp? How has that development looked? Has he taken, I'm not saying leaps and bounds, but do you see him, being under Bill Callahan? We all know how good of a coach Bill Callahan is with offensive linemen. Do he look more comfortable right now? I think he's on the left side now, if I'm not mistaken. Help me if I'm wrong. Or is he
He's on
still
the right side.
right
He's on the
side?
right side now. He went from the blind side tackle to the now he's on the front side. Dan Moore Jr., who they brought in from Pittsburgh Steelers, is now
The left side.
the left tackle. But
Gotcha.
one thing that's different about J.C. Latham this year, he dropped 30 pounds. So he dropped like 30 plus pounds. So he looks totally different. He looks like he's in way better shape. He talked about his nutrition and how he took those things along with the training to kind of make himself better because he wasn't happy with how his rookie year went. He talked about how he wasn't happy with it and how he trained and how he wanted to make this year better and be in better shape throughout the entire season. How he gained weight as the season went on and felt like he could be better. So in that, he's definitely paying attention to all his different cues, doing the different things he needs to do to get better. And it looks like he's more meticulous about the different little points and things like that he needs to do to be a great tackle in this NFL. And also, just to give you another bit of information as well for him, he actually was a right tackle in high school. Just when he got into I'm sorry, he was a left tackle in high school. He was a right tackle when he was at Alabama. So when he went to the NFL, he went back to his high school position, but now he's back in his college position, which is the right tackle position. So it isn't like he's not comfortable with the right side. He actually is just getting moved back to a side he's comfortable with. And he's played technically both sides, but just at a higher level, played on the right tackle spot.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. In his draft cycle, I was like, man, this is one of the ones, a big road grader. If you put him on the right side, man, he get on the right side, he's going to lock stuff down, and you're going to have trouble getting around him. My second question, Larry, I know you put the draft picks up on the screen here a few seconds ago. I see they went. Thank you, Larry. They went fourth round, DK out of Florida, and Alec Alomanor out of Stanford. My question to you is, I guess we all saw the news that what happened with Treylon Burks. He collarbone or something like that. With them drafting them two receivers this year, what was Treylon's status of being on a roster past this year? Because we all know he was a first round pick, a couple of seasons ago, and he had some good promise coming out of Arkansas, but it just seemed like it never worked out for him. So, unfortunately, the injury happened, and he's going to be sidelined. But do you see a path where he's on the roster here after this season, knowing that the receivers they drafted is definitely going to give him some push in the future?
Well, first, just to kind of go over how it happened, he was laying out for a deep pass from Cameron Ward, and he's laid out. He caught the pass. He jumped up. He was excited, and he's pumped up. But then he felt that pain in his shoulder, and then all of a sudden he just bent over, and you saw him on the sideline, coming over the sideline, and it was you knew something was serious at that point, and that he probably broke something. But as far as him being on the roster, I don't think he's going to be on the roster in next year. Reason why is because they didn't pick up a fifth year option for him.
Okay.
When they didn't pick up the fifth year option for him, it's pretty much, hey, he's not going to be the guy. Maybe this year, if he has a great year, they'll maybe extend him and give him another contract. But without that, didn't see it happening. And also, with Ellick and with
DK.
Ellick and Chimere DK, both of those guys fulfill roles that basically that Traylon does do and doesn't do. Basically, he could do, but he just hasn't been healthy enough to do it. So, yeah, definitely think it's time to move on from Traylon Burks. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and injuries, and it's kind of a little bit of the. I would say this. If you look at the Titans and first round wide receivers, they drafted Kevin Dyson, they've drafted Kendall Wright, they drafted Corey Davis, and now Traylon Burks. And you look at all four of them, neither one of them made it to a second contract with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I remember Corey Davis. He was a top 5 pick out of like Western Michigan, but
Yep.
Way
Yep.
back years. I was like,
Mhm.
whoa,
It was number 3. He was pick number 3.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? I don't think nobody seen that one coming. Maybe inside Tennessee Titans brass, they knew that, but from the national, it was like, whoa, okay, this guy. So yeah, man.
National media had it. National media had him going that high, but
really,
they did have him going that high there because just the production, you couldn't ignore the production that he put up that year.
Understood. Yeah, man. It's back to Traylon Burks. It's just unfortunate, man, that he just things just couldn't get right for him. Because I really thought he was okay. Yeah, he may be the next one, great receiver that they could have, but he just never could get it together, and it's just so unfortunate. But yeah, those are my 2 questions, Larry. I'm gonna let you take back over, boss.
Speaking of losses, Rand Carthon, he was there only 2 years. Do you think he got a fair shake? First question, and then my second question is, how has it been since Mike Borgonzi has been in the building, knowing he's coming from championship pedigree over there with the Chiefs? How do you feel about that hire as well?
All right. Well, first going Rand. I mean, do I think Rand should have been here? I think if you're going to keep Rand or get rid of Rand, you probably should have gone ahead and fire the coach and fire the coach as well to go along with it and kind of do a clean slate with a new coach and a new GM, so they're kind of together in lockstep. But that didn't happen. Fortunately, it is what it is, and it's productions-based business. Just the thing with the Titans is they keep hiring a GM and keeping the coach, and then they'll keep a coach and fire the GM, and it's kind of it's kind of putting together a building together kind of unevenly, I should say. So that was my thinking, and a lot of thinking to a lot of people around here. So to be honest, I don't think he should have been fired, but of course it's not my decision, and I don't sign the paycheck. So, but that one being said, with Mike Berganzi, I do think that he's got a plan. He actually, I think if you go back a little bit further, I think him and Chad Brinker actually have a connection. If you go back to Green Bay, I believe. So they believe in building teams from the base up and paying their own guys. So that is a little bit of a difference when it comes to Rand Carthon, because Rand Carthon did spend money a lot. We talk about last season, he spent a lot of money. He paid Lloyd Cushenberry, the starting center, as one of the top centers, and he paid Jerry Sneed as one of the top cornerbacks. Unfortunately, both got hurt last year. Cushenberry, deeper in the season than Jerry Sneed, of course, obviously. But definitely different philosophies there, which, I will say maybe a more sustaining philosophy when it comes to building through the draft and being more selective there, which, I can see that kind of being, in the Green Bay mold of picking receivers in the second, third, fourth round, stuff like that, and kind of developing them and then paying them based off of that as opposed to, splash in the first round, all those different things. So, I'm interested in seeing what kind of things he's able to bring to the Tennessee Titans. Being that he does come from championship pedigree, is very familiar with Jerry Sneed. He actually is the one that helped put together that deal for Jerry Sneed to come to the Tennessee Titans. So him and Chad Brinker, by the way, both of them. So they actually worked together before working together.
Yeah,
so,
I think that, tell me if I'm wrong, the Jerry Sneed, it was some compensation given up then it was a sign, right? Like a third round pick or something like that.
Third round pick, yes, third
Gotcha.
round picks.
Okay.
So, you know that they've worked together before, so I'm pretty sure they're very familiar with each other. And you know, with that being said, I'm interested to see just what they're able to do in terms of what they want to. If they stated they want to do is they want to get as many draft picks as possible. You know, Borgazzi has said this numerous times that he wants to get as many draft picks as possible. So, you know, with Will Levis getting hurt and with Traylon Burks getting hurt, that actually, you know, I would say I think that was part of the plan in terms of them staying healthy to maybe trade them to get, you know, additional draft picks. But unfortunately, that part didn't work out so far for the Tennessee Titans. But, you know, who knows? It may work out down the line. But just right now, it hasn't worked out for them to get those extra draft picks that they're looking to get to build this team from the ground up.
I think it's a little bit of pressure on Brian Callahan this year coming
Mm-hmm.
up. And I mean, it's so much of a microwave, you know, era that
Mm-hmm.
we in. Rand Carthon was there 2 years, as we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The Callahan first season was last year. So if he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't produce this year, then he's more than likely gone. Which you know your GM, that's not his coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy, and then it's more it's good. It's going to be attention on Cam Ward as well. I mean, unfair to him, but I think that you know he's going to be pressured to win, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
little unfair. But to that? What do you say?
I mean, honestly, I do see the pressure on Brian Callahan. I mean, he's basically coaching up under, you know, Chad Brinker was here last year, but Mike Berganzi was not here last year. So, you know, basically you're coaching under someone that didn't hire you. So they're probably going to be watching you a little bit more. In my opinion, they're probably going to watch you a little bit more. So you know, definitely the pressure is on. Do I think he needs to go to the playoffs for him to keep his job? No,
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to go to the playoffs. I think maybe 7 to 9 wins. Yeah, he probably needs to do that to keep his job, in my opinion. But I mean, I've never always been right either. So I think they just need to show progression and a team that's getting better on the field, whatever that looks like. If they show that, I think Brian Callahan will be fine going into year 3.
So before I'm gonna cut you off, Larry, Callahan, he came from
Mhm.
Cincinnati, right?
Right. He
Mm-hmm.
was Joe Burrow's quarterback coach, and he's also the offensive coordinator. He also has been a dealing. He's also been around quarterbacks like Justin Herbert and also Peyton Manning when he was in Denver. So he's been around a lot of good quarterbacks.
Yeah. So it's like you know you being under Joe Burrow, we know what he brings to the table. Peyton Manning, we know the
Mhm.
legendary career that he's had. You know Herbert, we know what Herbert can be when he's right. So man, like I guess like Larry said, you know, I don't know how patient this staff is going to be with him.
Mhm.
We, you know, people gonna want, hey, if you can do this with Joe Burrow, you can do this with Cam Ward, and that's
Mhm.
probably not necessarily the case. Every quarterback developed at their own rate or whatever the case may be. So I just, you know,
Mhm.
like you said, there's going to be pressure on him. Like
Mhm.
you said, 7 wins definitely keeps his job, but I just, you know, I just want it to be an unfortunate spot where, you know, the expectations are not met, you know, with Cam Ward and, you know, Larry saying it's him not being Paganzi's coach, you know, so hey, we're going to move on from you. So I think he's a good coach. It's just, you know, the microwave society and the realistic expectations for a rookie quarterback in year one, all that coming down on you, and this is your second year. So it's like it's probably going to be a tough slate for him, but you know we'll definitely see you know how he shakes out. So I'm definitely pulling for him to get the best out of Cam Ward, for him to keep his job and see how far he can take Cam Ward. If he can get him to a not maybe this year, but
Oh,
next year, year after that, a mid-level starter to a top 10 starter in a couple years. So, but yeah, it's definitely pressure.
And the only reason I say that because people are going to look
well,
at.
well, I will tell
Oh,
you
go ahead.
this.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, you good? Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I will tell you this: if they're not successful this year, it isn't going to be because the Cam Ward didn't put in the work. I will tell you that he shows up at 5:30 every morning at the
Mm,
facility. Got receivers with him. They basically hold his own meetings before the actual practice. Every day they practice. So
mm.
he definitely is going to put in the work, put in the time. He's been doing this since he was, I believe, before Miami days, like Washington State days. So he's been doing this for a while. So I honestly, and then he's also, picking up on audibles and all those different things. He's picking on those things pretty quickly. I don't know if you heard the story about Cam Ward and him and Jeffrey Simmons going back and forth. Did you hear about that story?
No.
No, we didn't hear that one.
Well, let me be the one to tell you about it then. Okay,
Oh, hey.
here it goes. It was the mini camp practice, and Jeffrey Simmons shows up mini camp practice, and he's in incredible shape, and he's running around, and he made a play, and then he's wolfing back and forth with Cam, and Cam's wolfing back at him. He's not backing down, and Bill Callahan's no, not Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan is still trying to tell him the play and all those different things. So he's still trying to tell him the play, and Cam's woofing at Coach Callahan while still getting the play. I mean, woofing at Jeffrey Simmons while still getting the play from Brian Callahan. So he takes the play, still woofing at him, digests the whole play, goes back in the huddle. Next play, throws a bomb to Calvin Ridley. So he literally was doing that and still listening to the play and still able to spit out the entire play that Brian Callahan was giving him while going back and forth with Jeffrey Simmons. Now,
Yeah.
of course, I would condone doing that every single play in the NFL, but that was pretty impressive that he did that, still was able to get the play correct to the huddle, and then drop a dime to Calvin Ridley next play.
Yeah, that sounds
Wow.
like from the story you just telling me that he's made from the right stuff to definitely diagnose we all know how long NFL play can be verbiage wise. So to get that and have an all pro defensive tackle woofing at you at the same time and you woofing back at him, that goes to show me that you made the right stuff, and he's a heck of a competitor from what you just telling me. So I can only imagine how it's going to be on September 7th when they open up, their season opener. We will get to the schedule in a second, but that's good stuff right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I only say that because look at the past recent years with C.J. Stroud going to the playoffs as a rookie, and then
Mhm.
Jay Daniels, and then Bo Nix as well. So the people are going to look at that, and they're going to look at Cam and kind of expect the same thing, even though it might not work out that way. But
Yeah,
at that,
yeah, I wouldn't quite say I'm not sold on it being that way, but hey, I would say it's definitely going to be exciting watching Cameron Ward on the field. Sorry, I'm kind of partial to calling him Cameron because I believe he likes being called Cameron instead of Cam, but I don't think Cam bothers him, but I'd rather stick to calling him Cameron. But that's that you'll do what you want, but I'm just saying that's what I've heard. So,
Right.
but yeah, he's definitely a guy that's quiet. He can be quiet and calm when he's talking to you. But he definitely did that with Jarvis Brownlee the other day when he was at his press conference after practice. He was talking, saying stuff about whatever, and he was talking glowingly about Jarvis Brownlee. And actually, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. happened to walk by, who's going to be a starting corner on this team. And he's talking about Louisville, whatever, and yada yada. And then, of course, he starts talking trash to him for a hot second, and then comes right back to the press conference. He's like, looks over him, says whatever to him, and then comes right back to the media. Yeah, it was quite entertaining.
I didn't hear what you said about. I went out for a second.
About Brownlee.
Oh, I was saying that he actually, yeah, he was actually wolfing back and forth. He's actually talking glowingly about Jarvis Brownlee Jr. to the media. I think he had broke up a pass or then something. I can't remember exactly. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr. went by and started talking about Louisville and everything like that because Jarvis Brownlee Jr. That's where he went to school. And of course, Cameron Ward went to Miami and he said that's why we gonna beat y'all, yada yada yada, stuff like that. Started talking trash with him for a hot second, and then came back to the media press conference. So it was quite entertaining.
I think they did a good job of helping him out with some weapons with Tyler Lockett coming over from Seattle, proven vet, and then you bring in Van Jefferson, and then as well as the offensive line, you bringing in Dan Moore and then Kevin Zeitler for right guard. Lloyd Cushenberry, I know about Lloyd Cushenberry, from Denver, so I know you're not really too impressed, but
Mhm.
how do you feel about the additions?
No, I'm not. I'm impressed by him.
Oh, you are impressed, right?
No, I'm impressed by him. Definitely impressed by him.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I just saying he got injured last year. I'm definitely impressed by him.
uh, I'm only going off. Well, that's why you're here because you covered the team, and I'm going off what I saw in Denver. So, um, but how do you feel about the additions? How do you feel about the additions on this team for helping out the rookie quarterback?
I definitely like the additions. I mean, Tyler Lockett's a veteran. One thing I did notice at Back Together weekend, yesterday at Nissan Stadium, he goes over and talks to his wide receivers, the veterans. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett. He's kind of talks to them about things he sees and stuff like that, or different things maybe they can do on the next play and the next go around out there too. So I definitely think having veteran weapons that know how to make those quick adjustments is going to be essential to his success. Also, you have a Gunnar Helm who's a very good receiving tight end. May not be the fastest tight end, but he knows how to position his body and run his routes. And go along with Chig Okonkwo, who basically is like a little mini version of what some people think is like Jonnu Smith. So yeah, so basically is a really good tight end as well. It can be a really good tight end. Just got to get over the inconsistencies, but he definitely does have the weapons, and then he has the younger weapons to continue to develop with, especially his guy Xavier Restrepo if he's able to make the team. Now, I will say a lot of people are assuming he's going to make the team. I'm not one of those people that's going to assume he's going to make the team. However, I do think he can make the team. Just he doesn't do a ton of special teams. That's the biggest issue in my opinion. So, but yeah, he's definitely
Yeah,
got the weapons around him, whether
yeah,
it be veterans or the younger guys.
yeah. Mike, wasn't like help me if I'm wrong. Was it Cam? Like I know Restrepo had the slow 40 kind of like turned some heads and was like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, you run a 40 in a straight line this fast, but you don't play this, you play faster than you run a 40. So like that was kind of like shocking for everybody
Mhm.
when his official numbers came out. So then Cam like
Mhm.
was adamant about getting Restrepo as a UDFA. Was he on the like, hey, this is my guy, get him in? Because I may have read that somewhere.
Mhm.
Help me if I'm wrong, but if that's the case, man, that would be
Mhm.
huge for Cam to have that guy that he went to school with and have that connection, have that familiarity with. But correct me if I'm wrong about him clamoring to get the Restrepo a shot with the Titans.
Yeah, he actually did clamor for him. He actually did mention him to the staff and the organization. But he not only did that for the Titans, he did that with every organization that he talked to. So every organization he talked to, he kind of pounded the table for Xavier Restrepo to join that team because he just had the ultimate confidence in his abilities and where he's going to be. Now, of course, again, that doesn't mean he's exactly going to make the team. He's just getting an opportunity.
Absolutely.
On the defensive side of the ball, Tavondre Sweat came in
Hmm.
last year as a rookie. You
Meatloaf.
still have Jeffrey Simmons there, Sebastian Joseph Day, and you add Draymond Jones. This team, I believe, had 32 sacks as a team last season. I believe that was like toward the bottom, if not the bottom
Mhm.
of the league. How do you feel about the pass rush being upgraded going into this season?
Well, I will tell you, they've got, if you haven't noticed, they've got a lot of bigger guys across the front and also at the outside linebacker position. They have a lot of bigger guys there too. So the team got bigger this year, but I will tell you that, of course, they did sign Jihad Ward actually pretty recently. That's another big guy. He's about 6'3", about 250 on the outside. Um, but to me, listening to Bill Callahan talk, he actually said about, kind of pushing the pocket and, basically collapsing the pocket with the bigger guys, which I found pretty interesting that you don't have a necessarily a guy that'd be like, hey, that guy can give me 10 sacks, but you want to use a collection of guys to kind of push and collapse the pocket or push the pocket back on the quarterback. So I'm interested to see how that comes. I've never really heard of that type of combination before, but hey, maybe Brian Callahan is onto something. Maybe you see something different, and maybe they just want to go with a different philosophy to get to the quarterback or make the quarterback uncomfortable. But technically, I don't see a guy on the team that's going to give you 10 sacks. I'm still kind of concerned about their pass rush. I don't think Big Feeney is quite ready to give you 10 sacks. I think Arden Key would probably give you about maybe 6 sacks. And of course, Jeffrey Simmons, I think Jeffrey Simmons is probably going to have bounce back season this year. I think he's going to probably be in the 8 sack range at 8 to 9, maybe 10 sacks at his best. But yeah, other than that, outside pass rush, I'm not sure you've got a guy out there that can be like, okay, cool, this guy can give me 10 sacks. Oh, and I will say this, by the way, him and Meatloaf work well together. Now, if you didn't know, Meatloaf is Devondre Sweat's nickname. So yeah, that's
Oh,
his aunt gave him that nickname when he was a kid. So that's Devondre Sweat's nickname. His aunt gave him as a kid. So but yeah, him and Meatloaf working together will be definitely interesting to watch and just interesting to see how they run games with each other. And that'll be one thing that's pivotal to the success of Jeffrey Simmons because if you remember, Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry were working side by side together for a long time, and they would just basically freelance a few things because they worked that well with each other. They knew where each other was going to be, and hopefully that type of chemistry for Titans fans goes along with Jeff Simmons and Meatloaf.
in the linebacker spot, Cody Barton, yeah, Otis Reese the fourth, Arden Key.
Mhm.
How do you see the middle part of this
Mhm.
defense working out going into the season?
Middle part of the defense is going to be interesting. I mean, you have Cody Barton. He's definitely a leader in that room. He's definitely a leader on that defense. The way he's kind of been communicating, talking to the younger linebackers, talking to the other pieces of the defense, and kind of putting everything together. I think he's definitely going to be the leader of that defense. He's going to be the guy wearing the green dot as well. So, but at the other linebacker spot, going into camp, there was a little bit of a question whether it's going to be Cedric Gray, the fourth round draft pick last year from North Carolina, was it going to be James Williams, the guy that played safety at Miami and converted to linebacker? Well, right now, it looks like it's going to be James Williams. That guy
Mm.
has been in there right beside Cody Barton, and he has been making plays. He actually picked off Cameron Ward at the Back Together weekend. He picked him off on the curl pattern. So he's definitely from year one to year two. A lot of the coaches and a lot of the players are kind of talking about how he's kind of made a little bit of a jump in his play and how he's reading things a lot better. And I actually talked to him. He's actually saying that I'm seeing things a lot better and understanding things a lot better at the linebacker position, which is huge for him because that guy with speed with well, I would say he goes from being a slower safety to a pretty speedy linebacker. That helps the Titans defense tremendously, especially with Cody Barton in there and being the brains of the operation. Which, by the way, he picked off Cameron Ward at one practice this week, and he actually was asked about it. He was like, "Yeah, I remember seeing that play, and I remember exactly what happened." So he remembered exactly what happened the previous day, and took it into the next practice, and was like picked up all his keys, and that's how he picked off the pass because he knew it was coming. Literally because he just diagnosed the play the same way he did the previous day. He just okay, let me fix that and clean that up for this next day.
Uh, on the back end, this defense, the pass defense was ranked second,
Hmm.
and they were ranked tied for 19th with 11 interceptions. With L'Jarius Sneed there, he is a
Hmm.
lock to play this year. Am I right?
Well, I will say this: the area Sneed right now is on the pup list right now. He's week to week because he had a knee cleanup in I believe May, I believe. So they're trying to make sure he's good to go when he steps on the field. He did. He was out there at Back Together weekend. He was out there signing autographs. He was not out there practicing and playing. But there is, hope within the organization that he'll be good to go. Hopefully, by the time season rolls around, we'll see when it comes to that. But even if you don't have him, you have Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who's a young guy and really wasn't. I would say he really wasn't expected to step into play or start as much as he did last year, but he did well, and um, that made one of their starting corners they brought from Cincinnati. It made him expendable. I can't remember his name right now, but anyway, Cheeto Bay Awuzie. It basically Jarvis Brownlee
Yeah.
ended up being the starting corner because he made him expendable at that point. So Sneed definitely needed. They need him to be the corner that he was in Kansas City. But even with that, you have a young corner in Jarvis Brown that's going to be even better this season after 1 year of experience, kind of being thrown in the fire as being your number one corner. But that's still a position I will say that does need some more pieces to it. You do have Roger McCreary, that's a slot guy. He's going into a contract year as well, by the way. But it's definitely going to be just interesting watching, that position. They do need some more depth there, in my opinion. Daryl Baker Jr. is here. He's a guy that played for the Colts for some years, and then is in his second year, I should say, with the Titans. But to be honest, I do think they need a little bit more development there. Snead doesn't play; it does hit their depth tremendously.
I like the addition of Xavier Woods coming over from Carolina. And as you spoke on Roger McCreary,
Mhm.
and then you got Mike Brown back there as well. So, how do you feel about the addition of Xavier Woods coming over, and how much of a help can he be?
All right, as far as Xavier Woods, I mean, I think he could be a solid safety, I should say. And he's a guy that always plays. He does not miss games. So that is a huge thing. The best ability is availability is what I've always been told. So, he definitely is going to be a guy that's going to be in there every single snap that, he's supposed to be in there. I'm going to look and see and watch the development of Kevin Winston Jr. That's a guy that is physically gifted. I mean, he's a big guy, but he can move. And that would be a guy that I'm going to kind of pay attention to and watch to see how he matriculates his way into the lineup somehow, some way. Because I do think he's going to find a way in there. I'm just not sure when it's going to be, but he's going to find a way. He made a couple plays. I know they weren't really in full pads, and we'll see more then. But he made a couple plays where he diagnosed it and got to the right spot and basically foiled the whole play in the back together weekend, and has done that throughout camp as well. So safety position going to be very good to watch. I mean, they do have some depth there, but the young guy, and he's going to be a one to watch. Kevin Winston Jr. definitely going to be a guy to watch. And of course, Amani Hooker going to be the steadying presence back there as he always has been.
You got anything to add, Mo?
No, man. I think you answered the question. I mean, you asked the question I had as well about the secondary and about Kevin Winston Jr. as well. And we know he wasn't healthy coming into the process, but now he's healthy now. So we expect him to, like you said, Mike, you expect him to hit the field at some point. And when he do, you're going to feel him and his presence on the football field.
Let's go to
Right. If he
schedule.
wasn't injured, if he wasn't injured, he would have never fell to the Tennessee Titans. There would have been no way.
Interesting. Let's go to the schedule. So in week one, the Titans are at Denver. Week two, they're at home against the Rams,
Hmm.
and week three against the Colts. Then
Hmm.
they hit the road 3 straight games at Houston, at the Cardinals, at the Raiders. Then you're back home against New England. Then you face the Colts in a division matchup. Uh, then week nine, you're back at home against the Chargers. Hit the bye week in week 10. Week 11, it's Houston again at home, Seattle, and Jacksonville. So you get 2 division opponents at home in a 3 home game
Hmm.
stretch. And then you hit the road back to back weeks against Cleveland and San Francisco. Then you're back at home against Kansas City, New Orleans before
Hmm.
closing the season out at Jacksonville. How do you feel about this schedule right here? This is a little tough one.
Well, the first 2 games are definitely going to be tough ones. I mean, you got Denver out there, the number one defense in the NFL last year. Then you also have the Rams, which they've got the reigning defensive rookie of the year out there too. So yeah, a little tough going into it. And then plus, they got the offensive weapons, and hopefully for them, Matt Stafford is healthy. So yeah, first 2 games going to be a little tough, but I will say this Titans team is a team that fights, and they're in games. This has been the hallmark of Titans teams since they got here in '99. They always beat a team that no one expects them to beat, and then they always lose a game that no one expected them to lose. That is just the mark of what the Titans have been over the years. They'll win games that no one think gives them a chance, and they'll lose games that no one gave them a chance to lose. So would it surprise me if they beat the Broncos and the Rams? Yes. But would it just like, overtly surprise me? No, because they've done these types of things before. Now, last year, I will say, last year it threw me off because, they didn't follow that pattern that I just talked about, which is the first time ever they really didn't follow that pattern. But, would it surprise me if that happens this year, that pattern? Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that pattern happens. So, definitely a tough way to go out in terms of starting. But, it's going to be peaks and valleys for this team. It's mostly going to be about what they can do, not necessarily what everybody can do against them.
Amon, what do you think about the schedule? I know you I know you smiling. You got a lot to say about the schedule.
Yeah, man. I think it's a toughie. Like you said, you starting out with, like you said, the Broncos and Titans. And as me and Larry joked about a couple episodes ago, the first one, September 7th, against the Broncos. Who knows what may happen? Like you said, Mike, they might go into Denver and beat Denver. We've seen stranger things happen. For example, last year, who would have thought New England would beat Cincinnati week one with all the weapons that they got? But we know what Cincinnati has. But it happens, come off to rocky starts. But I'm curious. I'm looking at the schedule here, and I see there's some winnable games, but then there's some juggernauts on the, whatever you think of Brock Purdy and the 49ers, and then you got Mahomes on the schedule. And then you got Trevor Lawrence and with Liam Cohen and his new weapon, and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas over there. You got so you got those guys. So it's a tough schedule. There's some winnable games. But my question for you, Mike, is I know we talk about the division in general, but what would you like to see from these first two games right here? What would you like to see from Cam Ward in those first two games that may give you some, okay, this guy, he's going to be all right? Because going against Denver and Patrick Surtain week one out the gate, and then got to see Jared Verse and Braden Fisk in that defense in week two. I mean, that's no tall task for a rookie quarterback. It's baptism by fire, trial by fire. And hey, if you're going to go get baptized, these are the first two games you'll get baptized by. I don't think you'll be, any two tougher games that you probably can put on that schedule and say, okay, Rook, you're our guy. Let's see what you got. So what are you expecting from Cam Ward? And, what would you think is successful for him out of those two games going into week three?
Well, you're probably gonna think it's strange for me to say this, but I want to see how he does in adversity because he's on the road. It's a big game. What if he makes a mistake? How he responds to that mistake, how he handles that mistake, his composure, those different things. I like to see those type of things because that to me reveals the character of a player. I think he has character. I think he's a very positive person, a very, he fights terms of fights to do the right things at all times, and he does the right things majority of the time. But he's a guy that can also bounce back pretty quickly and has a quick memory from what we've seen. So that's what I want to see. Also, I want to see him take chances, but take calculated chances. That's the thing with this offense that they didn't really do last year. They took chances, but you also took chances after you double and triple check was it open. That's where you took chances. You didn't take chances where it was actually open, but you had to see it twice. Like literally one game, Calvin Ridley streaking across the field. Will Levis doesn't see him, but he throws the under, and Cincinnati picks it off and runs it in for a touchdown. When the over, Calvin Ridley's one-on-one, he's pulling away from the guy. He's literally wide open. So, it's easy for us to see since we're in the booth, but then again, those type of things, and also read the defense when he needs to do the checks. It's easy to say do those checks when you're going against your own guys and things like that. But when you're in the game and the bullets are flying, that's the biggest thing. If you have this defense out there for way more than what they should be, then that's going to be a problem. Keeping the offense on schedule, on time, and doing the things that need to be done. If you're able to do that, then I think I'd be happy with what we see from Cam Ward at that point in time.
Yeah, while they do have a tough schedule in the beginning, you go to week 9, you're at home against the Chargers, then you get a bye week, and then you got Houston, Seattle, and the Jaguars. So they're at home for a very long time. For 5 weeks, they're sitting at home. Crazy. Uh, so now we're going to have to get into more or less, and we're going to list off about 5 or 6 stats from last year from individual players, and we're going to determine, in your opinion, if it's going to be more or less this year. Just, sort of like an over under. So we're going to start with Tony Pollard. So he had 1,317 yards from scrimmage last year. Does he go more or less?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying.
You still
Can you
there,
hear me?
Mike?
Yeah, I think he's still there. But I'll answer first, Larry. You said 13. What was the more? What was the yards?
1,317 yards for Tony Pollard. Does he go more or less than 1,317 all-purpose yards?
Can you hear him there, Mike? Oh, I'll go. I'm gonna say he
Nah, I
has.
cannot hear him. I don't know what's going on, but the signal's getting a little choppy.
Okay. I'm gonna say he go a little less than that. Just because of Cam Ward, he probably, I don't know, how Mike feels about this, but he probably want to, throw the ball a little more, get it out to the weapons that they drafted for him, along with Calvin Ridley. So I'm gonna go a little less in my opinion, but I'm pretty sure Mike knows about it. He's on the ground with the situation, so he probably give you a better answer than I can.
So did you hear that, Mike?
Okay, I didn't catch the question I was answering. I'm sorry.
Got a little technical difficulties going on here. You back?
Okay.
All right. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm right. I'm right here. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I can hear
So
you.
Tony.
Just your face is not moving, but I can hear you.
All right, so Tony Pollard had 1,317 all-purpose yards last year. Does he go over or more or less than 1,317?
Uh, I would say he probably goes a little under this year. Reason why I say that is because last season they wanted to go 50-50 more with Tony Pollard and with Tajay Spears. Couldn't do that because Tajay Spears, injuries, things like that. So this year they're trying that again. Tajay Spears looks healthy, looks spry. So I would say that it's going to be less just because they're going to even out the carries a little bit more to kind of prolong Tony Pollard throughout the season.
I've been waiting for that Tajay Spears breakout game since he been drafted. I know when he got drafted, Derrick Henry was there as well, but I've just been waiting for Tajay to just go off. Uh, so Calvin Ridley, the second one, he had 1,017
Hmm.
yards. Does he go more or less?
You want me to go there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I can go first. I'm gonna say he has more this year because Mike, you can help me with this. I really believe that Cam Ward's security blanket is going to be Calvin Ridley. We all know
Okay,
Calvin
I
Ridley.
didn't question.
You want to repeat the question for him again?
Uh, Calvin Ridley, I think he had 1,017 yards. Does he go more or less?
I think he goes more. I think he goes more actually because now you got to think he got these. He was the ninth receiver in NFL history to have 3,000 1,000-yard season. He had a 1,000-yard season with 3 different franchises. So, by the way,
Mm.
but as far as his numbers with a solid last season, I think with that being said, he'll go over 1,017 yards receiving this year.
Yeah, Larry, I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna say he goes over 1,017. He probably end up in that I say about 1,200 range. I think that'll be fair and solid for Calvin. Calvin really. And plus, I think Cam Ward's going to be looking for him. A little more than often to be his type of his security blanket for him as a rookie quarterback. So I'm gonna definitely say he goes over that 1,017 this year.
Jeffrey Simmons, 5 sacks last year. Does he go more or less?
Oh, he's going more. I give him 8 to 10 sacks this season. He looks like a guy that is in shape. He's motivated. He's reflected on last season and what happened and what didn't happen, and he doesn't like the feeling of what last season left with him. So he's going to take it out on every single team in the NFL. I definitely think he gets between 8 to 10 sacks, and look for him to move around a little bit more on the defensive line this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he gets more as well because I think outside of probably Dexter Lawrence, he's probably one of my favorite interior defensive linemen in the league. So I think he has another gear to his game that I know he can take it to. And like you said, last year was a disappointment for him. He didn't play his best. So I think he's going to get back to that all-pro form this year. And beside him and Meatloaf, I expect him to do a whole lot of damage to some to offensive interior three all year long.
And Amani Hooker has had 12 interceptions in his career. He had 4 in 2020, and he's had an interception every year. He had 5 last year. It was career high. I know it's kind of hard to get get more than 5 interceptions after the year you got 5, but does he go more or less than 5 interceptions this year?
I think it's going to go less. I mean, do I think he's going to get like 3? No, I think he'll probably get right at 4. I don't think we'll get 5. 5 was his career high. So I give him maybe 4 interceptions this year. I will say he's been a guy that's pretty good at covering tight ends as well, by the way.
Okay. I'm gonna say he has about. I'm gonna say he stay right at 5, maybe less, and it's a contract year as well, as Mike alluded to at the beginning of the show. So I've definitely had something to play for. Everybody wants that big payday, so I think he stays right where he is, maybe 1 or 2 less, but nevertheless, I think he hits the minimum of 3 and stays a Titan after they extend him this year.
And one more, Chigo Conquo going into a contract year, 52 catches, 479 yards. In terms of yards, does he go more or less than 479?
I'm gonna say he does. You said 479, Larry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he does a little
I would
more
say
than
if he goes more, he's going to go a little more.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say probably maybe like
If he goes
500
more, he'll
something.
go a little more, maybe 525, perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah, Larry, I'm right. I'm about 550, 575. Because like I said, been in the league, tight end one. Cam's gonna look for him across the middle, as well. So I say about 550 to 575.
Tight end is definitely a quarterback's best friend. Mike, real quick, what's your thoughts on Josh Wiley and the chance that he can turn it up this year? Because his first year didn't go so well. I think he only had like double digit in yards, and then he had like 200 some yards last year. What is the ceiling you think that Josh Wiley can go into? I know he's got Gunnar Helm, he's got Chick Okonkwo in that room as well. But what's your thoughts on Josh Wiley?
Thinking about Wiley, I mean, I think there's a really good possibility that he could be the third or maybe fourth tight end on this team because there is another guy that actually is playing as well. His name escapes me. He's a guy that I think they brought in through the international exchange at tight end, and I think potentially he could supplant him, or Wiley will be that third tight end. But Wiley definitely there is a distinct, in my opinion, distinct possibility that Wiley could potentially not make this team.
Mm.
Okay. So before we get out of here, my players to watch this year are two players going into their contract years, and that's Amani Hooker and Chigo Okonkwo. And hopefully they can get the right production to get paid, whether that's through the Titans or whether there's somebody else. And then my rookies to watch, Alec Aomaner, uh, I can't, what is this? Chamir,
DK.
DK, DK. There you go. And then Big Femi are my rookies to watch there. Um, so, any last thoughts you got on the Titans before we get about it?
No, I don't have like my thoughts. I just want to see Cam Ward's progression, how he handles the start of the season, how he handles the middle of the season, how he handles the end of the season, being a rookie in the NFL. Everything's going to be coming fast at him all at one time. So I'm curious to see how his progression from week 1 to week 8 and week 8 to week 17. See how comfortable he is in the Callahan offense, and hopefully he's up there. At the NFL honors as one of the winners of the Rookie of the Year award. So I mean, I'm definitely excited for Cam Ward. He was QB1 for me last year. Hopefully, he just take the AFC South by storm and rival C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence and give them a good run for their money.
Mike, one last question before we get up out of here. What is your final thoughts on the Titans going into the season?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What's your final thoughts on the Titans before the season kicks off? Like, what are your final thoughts on the Titans as far as your expectations from them?
If I'm believing you correct, I said, what are my final thoughts on the Titans going into the season?
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry about my connection, man. I don't know what's going on.
it's just going to be it. It's That's all good. It's all good. We're still here, man. So it's all good. We Can they clean up the plays that cost them games last season? If they're able to clean up the plays that cost them games last season, you got that's going to be the big thing to watch. And then also just to see how rookies adjust once the league adjusts to them. Because the biggest thing that everyone talks about is when a rookie comes in. No one ever talks about when the league adjusts to them, how rookies are able to make those adjustments to the adjustments people are making to them. That's the big thing I want to watch and pick up on and see what rookies make those adjustments and which ones don't, and which ones still have that work to do going into next season.
Okay. Yeah, that was great. Mike, tell the people where they can reach you at on all your platforms.
All right. Well, you can reach me, of course, on the artist formerly known as Twitter. I won't call it X because only X I recognize is DMX and Malcolm X. So, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. You can also find me on Blue Sky, same thing, Mike Patton 82. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. And you can find Touring the AFC South on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. And also, of course, like I mentioned, the Mike Patton Network on YouTube, where you can go ahead, subscribe, share, and check out all the new things. Like last week, I spoke to Keith Bullock from former Tennessee Titans linebacker, and then also have a few things coming up next week where I'm actually going to be speaking to NFC West people about the AFC South opponents they're going to be seeing this season. Starting off with the Seahawks and finishing it off with the 49ers this week.
All right, everybody, don't forget, go out there and subscribe. Check out all the great things that Mr. Mike Patton has going on. Mike, thank you again for taking time out to join us. You could have been anywhere in the world, man, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. As for everybody else out there, uh, tomorrow we were hitting the Jaguars tomorrow. Amon?
Sounds good to me.
Hitting the Jaguars, finishing off with the Texans. Mike, thanks again. And until then, everybody.